Hey MBA hopefuls, we are on air with MBA Waves, your weekly vidcast talking all things business and education, streaming live every Tuesday on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. We bring you lots of tips to help you into a top rank MBA program and get you up close and personal with many of these business schools. Today, a big welcome to École Polytechnique, one of the world famous and in fact known as France's best engineering school. So we're going to go around the room and introduce who's joining us today. So we start with Aleksandar.
Go.
Aleksandar, go ahead and introduce yourself. Yeah, thanks.
So I'm Aleksandar Protic, and I'm head of Talent Recruitment and Admissions in B2B of the Executive Master Program. And I've been around since 5 years and a half at École Polytechnique. And I like to recruit people around the world. Some people like Benjamin here.
Welcome, Aleksandar. And then Benjamin Carlotti, who's an alumnus of the Executive Master.
Yes, hi everyone. So as Alex just mentioned, and you as well, I went to École Polytechnique in 2020 for about a year and a half. So I'm from the fourth promotion. And most of my, let's say, professional background, I don't like the term serial entrepreneur, but that's a bit what I am. And I think that's one of the reasons why I joined the program as well, was to have a very, very strong focus on innovation and engineering, which I hadn't had as a background. So.
Welcome, Benjamin, and of course, my dear co-hosts Eric and Bara. How have you been?
Great, Krithika, great to see you guys.
Great to see you both. Hi.
Awesome. So I'm going to let Eric kick off, with his first question. Over to you, Eric.
Sure. So let's get into why you're here today on MBA Waves. Most of the programs that we talk to are top ranked, more kind of classic MBA programs. And as I understand, in 2017, École Polytechnique launched the Executive Master, which seems a bit like an Executive MBA with a tech twist to it, if it's okay to say. So could we start off the episode today by you guys explaining some key points about the program?
Yeah, sure. So thank you once again for having us, all of you. And I'm really enthusiastic about the program I worked for because it's a very unique program internationally. I would say maybe a bit more than a tech twist, because there is one pillar completely dedicated to technology, one pillar to innovation, and one pillar which will really correspond to what MBA around the world programs are doing. So that technology and innovation part is something that we can really not easily find around the world. There are some programs that will allow you to have some tech education, but this one is a really deep dive in technology. You have one option that you will explore throughout the year. You have one team project which is related to technology innovation, and then you have your theoretical knowledge from one part, and then on the other you have a very concrete application of that knowledge that you learn about, and then you have all the managerial leadership and coaching part as well. So maybe you'd like to add something.
Yeah, no, just to bounce back on that. I actually went through a undergraduate business school in the US, and I was not looking to join another, let's say, traditional business program. So I remember when I applied to École Polytechnique, it was École Polytechnique or nothing, because I loved really this tech aspect and focus that they had on, and of course for the strength of their reputation and network all over the world. So for me it was really the deciding point for applying to the program.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And everything is taught in English, right? Everything is, or is it in French, or how do you guys
not really
conduct your classes?
Okay, so that's a twist, because the École Polytechnique is a very traditional French institution founded by Napoleon, let's say, and the idea was to have some of the French values as well. That's why we had a bilingual program until 2023. In March, we launched an only English program as well. But the first one which existed for 6 years, was only bilingual one, French and English. So all the participants were required to speak both languages.
Got it. And where do the students come from? Are they from all over France? Are they a big international?
I would say, I mean, even based on my own promotion, we were a bit from all over the place. Yes, they were, let's say, probably about half the people who were, from France, but the other half was from all over the place. So and I would say I've been in touch with the latest promotions, 5 and 6, and it's even more and more international. So it's quite impressive the reach that the school can have.
Yeah, we don't have an online program. The founders' decision choice was to have everything in presence, which is one of the strengths of the program. However, that made some people travel from New York, from Singapore, from Africa every month to Polytechnique, because it's a 4 to 5 days per month program in presence. So 9 modules are in France, and then we have partner institutions in UC Berkeley, in SMU Singapore, and Technical University in Munich.
Just going to say before, I didn't realize that my mute button was on. Quick translation, promotion in French means graduating class or batch. We say promotion in French, so if you're wondering.
Very true.
Yeah. So what we call in French a faux ami, a false friend. It sounds the same in English, but it's actually not. I wanted to ask you guys, what is the typical profile for candidates École Polytechnique is looking for candidates to join the program, including age level, level experience, or professional background?
Yeah, so the program is pretty senior in terms of admissions and in terms of what we want to be a harmony between people who are senior managers. So they have this year's we have in average 46 year of age. 46. They have a lot of professional and managerial experience. So we do not accept a junior profile. Sometimes upper intermediate, but it really is a senior program. So let's say that 30% of the people are the CEOs of the companies, 60% of them are in executive boards, and then we have a variety of profiles which are sometimes from different institutions. There are startups. Maybe eventually you can give us a few words about your class.
Yeah, sure. I even remember when we had a chat with Alex. When I was applying to the program, I was afraid that I was a bit too young. So I mentioned to him that I was 35-year-old when I applied, and he reassured me, no, actually you would not be the youngest. There's someone younger than you who's already in. So that gave me a bit of confidence. But I remember that the average age was around 43, about at least 15 years of working experience. And I mean, I was really not surprised, but really happy to see that our graduating class was extremely diverse. We had about probably 1/3 of engineers. We got a couple of doctors, people from the army, a few startup people like me. It was very, very diverse. So it made the class and the questions asked by the class extremely interesting, and I think even interesting for the teachers as well. To have to be challenged from different backgrounds. So that made very valuable.
Yeah, I think I'm very excited about this, because these days we get a lot of people on the higher end of the spectrum, typically looking for going to a regular full-time MBA program, which will take in only people at an average of around, say, 6 years of experience. So I'm thrilled to hear about your program. I was curious about why might certain professionals look at this program in terms of the career outcomes that they would expect?
So today around the world you have about 15,000 institutions proposing an MBA program, and the competition is huge. Many of them, if you take a benchmarking for around 7 to 10 years, transformed into some kind of digital options, etc., because technology and innovation are so much influencing our daily businesses. So maybe if you don't want to become a priest or a sports teacher. I mean, everything other will be completely influenced by technology and innovation. Therefore, the Polytechnic used this knowledge. Several people who were able to create a program such as this, which is extremely complicated to create because you have a mindset and a way the business school functions, and then you have and the business mindset is very fast, taking risk, everything, and the research world is everything which is opposite. You want to test thousands of times to explore everything, take your time, take everything through any analysis. So it's two different worlds which really matched in our case, and we created this program. We're very proud of it. And of course, this deep dive in technology innovation, and you have one possibility to be specialized in technology or innovation you want to explore, and then you also have the opportunity to see the overview of technology innovation which are influencing the world of tomorrow. Because of course, when you go to laboratory and research centers, you always have this extraordinary advantage seeing what will be on the market for in 5 to 6 years. So that's huge to know in advance where we're going to be in terms of IoT, artificial intelligence 4.0 influencing our business.
That's helpful.
And what about like Benjamin? Maybe you wanted to share some examples of alumni stories for our audience to learn about.
Sure, and that's actually I was telling Alex recently that I'm still in touch. I mean, the size of the class was 36, or still is, I think 36. I mean, I'm still, which I really loved because it's not that big, and you can really interact with everyone. And having graduated about 18 months ago, I would say I'm in touch regularly with half of my class, which is, I think it's really cool. And what I realized is that half, as almost everyone has changed one way or another their career path since they've been accepted and been through the program, which is, and me included, which is quite cool to hear. And as Alex mentioned, we've had many of high senior executive in the program who had been working in big corporations for many years, for over a decade sometimes, and they switched path and they've joined startups. They've joined scale-ups, and the project that they had, the team project that they had followed during the program, it actually became a company, and they've started it. So it's quite amazing to see, and it's I think it's the best way to explain how this program can really transform your professional life, really.
Even some of the people who didn't want to transform, let's say 30% of CEOs who are enrolled in the program, they usually want to transform their company, earn much more money, etc. But they don't really want to change their career pathway. They don't want to go to another job because it's very, very precise what they want to do here. But some of them, just like recently, we had a CEO of a huge tech company, very well known around the world. He's a CEO for Europe. He wanted to stay in the company and really to bring a transformation in terms of IoT, precisely. But he met someone who gave a magnificent proposal to direct the digital transformation of the state of Luxembourg. So he accepted it, and then he changed his career. So I mean, there is so many transformational stories. And it's really interesting. We had one team project, which is the part where you put your theoretical knowledge in practice. One of the participants was Laurent, a French guy. He created a company in cybersecurity. So it was a startup for a few years. He didn't really advance as much as he wanted, and he joined our program to accelerate. So during the program, he was joined by several people who were working in different fields, not at all cybersecurity, but they got him a lot of introspection and great feedback about some things to improve. So the project, of course, with all the people teaching in our program, we have an amazing academia. We have a Nobel laureates for teaching as well. So it's really a great group of people to be with and to learn from. And at the end of the program, his startup was extremely accelerated. And 3 years after, they became now the world leader in their field. So it's really amazing.
I think like we live for these stories of transformation, and that's what any MBA is about. That's awesome.
And I love that you guys do that with such a small program. I've gotten to know a lot of these, like we would call boutique programs, where it's really intimate. Like everyone in the class knows each other super well. It's like a family. And yet, even though it's this very small cohort, you also are part of a larger group where you're, however many thousand of alumni, that it's a larger network that you're part of. So it's like this first circle and then the larger circle of, let's say, previous batches of this program since 2017. And then the next circle is like the full alumni network. And that's fantastic to be able to leverage that kind of network. But let's talk a little bit about the admissions process at Polytechnique. Many of our listeners today are thinking about applying to the program. So what should they expect? Like, what are some suggestions you'd like to offer in terms of being a great applicant for the executive master?
Okay, of course. So maybe I can kick off with the institutional part, and maybe Najman can tell your experience of the admission process. So the first part, we have 3 phases. The first one is given to the talent recruitment and admissions team to decide on the first selection. So there are many candidates from 3,500 to 4,000 people interested in the program every year. So our team is communicating with email, telephone, and then it's going down to 550 interviews per year that we'll talk with our team. And then the first part is the orientation, of course, and then the recommendation we provide. Either we encourage candidates to candidate or not. We can also orient them to another program, more classical MBA or another tech program if they need it. So we usually encourage around 100 people to candidate, and then we create a Salesforce solution. We are very lucky to also to train the executives from Salesforce. So we got this interactive solution, which became our kind of a CRM, and they will have the opportunity to answer several questions of the jury. Of course, with the normal part of any application file where they will provide their information. And they answering these questions, they will talk about their motivation, their project, interest for technology, some general knowledge as well. And this is where a jury will get to decide with the referee letter as well. The jury will decide whether they would like to invite them or not to the third phase, which is one-to-one with the jury. And then the final decision will be made. So how was that for you?
Stressful. Very stressful, because I remember my story is a bit, because I was applying during COVID, so I was in lockdown, and I remember that I had just sold my company a few months before, and I was like, okay, what do I do with my life? And I think as many people during lockdown, we kind of did that, and I thought, you know what? I think I feel the need to go back to school. I want to learn again, and that's when I was going through. I wanted to stay in France, so I did a few of the best schools in France, and as soon as I've clicked on the executive master at Polytechnique, I knew that I wanted to try. I didn't know that I wanted to get in, but I wanted to try to get in, and I was in touch with Alex. And he gave me great advice on the first half an hour conversation that we had. I actually thought that I didn't have the time to apply because during COVID, I think the deadline was April 30th. And then Alex told me, no, you get an extra month because of COVID. So, take your chance. So I did. And for the past probably 5 to 6 weeks, I've really worked a lot on the application and, trying to and I thought the process was interesting because it made you really think about the motivation that you have for joining the program, and it makes you really think about, okay, what do I want to get out of it, and I thought about, okay, where would I be in the next 5 years? Okay, how this program could help me. And of course, how could I help the program as well to bring more diversity based on my background, my experience as an entrepreneur, and so on. But yes, I remember vividly the jury face-to-face, which for me was online. And yeah, it was not a traumatic experience. The word is a bit tough, but it was intense, let's say. And I remember when I hang up, I called my sister and I said, "Yeah, I'm not getting in." They kind of played the good cop, bad cop on me, and actually, you know, just probably like 3 or 4 days after, I got a call from Alex giving me the good news, and I really couldn't believe it, and I was so happy. So yeah, it's not an easy track, but as you would expect, right, to join such a good school. So so yeah, interesting path, really.
I love the candor here.
So I have to stress just one little thing, that you know, the juries are composed from a variety of professors. They change all the time. Sometimes they are going to be more more good cop, and then some days they're going to be more bad cop. So it depends on jury, but it's usually it's a process where we really want to understand everything better. So yeah, many questions may be asked, but it's always with a very good intention.
Yeah, there's no trick questions. There's no, because I was afraid of that. Because to bounce back on that, I don't come from, I mean, I'm not an engineer, I know, and I was a bit afraid of, okay, could I keep up with the expectations of Polytechnique, which, as you mentioned earlier, is one of the best, you know, engineering school in the world. So there's no trick question. They're not going to ask you, you know, to calculate very quickly some very difficult math question. But yeah, it's all good intention, but could be a bit stressful. Yeah.
Maybe you need to change the name. Don't call it jury.
True.
It's interesting to think, if you were to redo that today after going through the program, how you'd feel afterwards. Like what kind of confidence and what kind of answers, and who are you now with comparable questions? You know, it's always really interesting to be able to, you know, read books again, go through, you know, similar things again. Do you have specific suggestions for folks who are applying? That, like, are there ways that they could prepare for the jury or to prepare for these different pieces and feel more confident going in?
Yeah, I mean, I remember that I was always a bit of a fan of the school itself. So I wanted to, and even the fact that I was applying to it, I was like, you know what? Out of, not even just because I expected some questions, which I didn't have about the school itself, but I did a lot of research on, you know, the program, how it was started. I read a lot about the alumni stories. I kind of tried to come up with a list of 15, 20 different questions. I think at the end of the jury, I think it was Nicholas, it was like, okay, it's enough questions now, almost like laughing, but but I think he was also happy that I came prepared. And I would say take the time it needs, because it will be time consuming to fulfill the whole application. As I mentioned before, it took me probably 5 to 6 weeks to really come up with something, because I wanted to come with something good, right? And I want my essays to be perfect. I had to think about who I wanted the recommendations letters to come from. So, and the questions that you will be asked during the admission process, again, they're not tricky, but they will make you think about, okay, am I ready to dive into this program? Is this the right program for me? So it's like almost a mirror, you know. It was very interesting in that sense. So and one thing I did, which maybe not everyone would be able to do, but I actually went on the campus itself a few days before the jury the jury questions, and it was very interesting for me to just walk around, you know, kind of have a feel for the campus, because I had gone to the US and I have never been to a French school, and I talked to a few students, talked to a few people there, and it was interesting to just get a feel for it. And actually, I mentioned that to the jury, and I think they appreciated it as well. You know, they could feel that I could already see myself there, so that was a bit of a bonus. But yeah.
Did I catch that you said that Napoleon had started this? Is that correct?
Yes,
so
actually, Napoleon reformed the school. So most of the time we say Napoleon started the school. It was initiated just before, but he's, let's say, one of the founders of what it is today.
Amazing.
And just to mention, I'm from Corsica myself, which of course Napoleon is from. So you can imagine the pride that I had when I got admitted.
Did they have a parade when you finished? Did they?
Of course.
So I come from the test prep world. We work with students on the GMAT and the EA and the GRE. So it's a big topic these days, right? Especially in the United States, admissions testing. So what is the take on the GMAT or an admissions test, and how important is it for your institution?
Okay, so we don't use them because we have our file. Benjamin said it's like a mirror question. So there are questions that want to understand your motivation. As we have this 3-phase process, we get to meet the people pretty powerfully. So we, in the first phase, we kind of know where we stand. Then the jury will have their own opinion as well, and then we have these writings which allow us to see the choice you make of your words, of how do you direct your achievements, your defaults, etc. So it gives us a picture which is pretty clear, and we don't tend to use a GMAT or another test. Not because they are bad, it's simply they are not maybe the most adequate for our program that we really spend a lot of time on. Also, before the people apply, they usually come to our events that we organize ourselves, and we also met Eric through different events that we went to as representing the different schools. But we have this exposure, which is larger, but we also have our events. So we, most of the time, know candidates pretty well.
Napoleon doesn't need your little GMAT.
I can't even come up with like a comeback for that at all. I got nothing.
All right. So I have to say that I'm an engineer, and I have been always fascinated by the top engineering programs across the world. And we know that Polytechnique is quite engineering or tech based, and being successful in business. And as you yourself mentioned, it means more and being fluid and adaptable and having more hard skills. So how does the school bring these two things together? Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so Polytechnique is quite an old institution. We have a program which started in 2017. So Polytechnique is much bigger than us, and it was a great accelerator for the program. But if you wish, Polytechnique is a pretty unique institution in the world, because there is this tech innovation science part, and there is this humanities extraordinary part with languages, with this general culture, and then there is sport and discipline, which are extremely important in the institution. So, for instance, students, other than executive students, they have compulsory 6 hours of sport per week. Wow. And most of them have 8. So you will see them running around dressed for the sports all the time, etc. And they're pretty competitive and good in sports. So there is this balance between mind and body, which is extremely important at Polytechnique. This is a culture of the institution. And this is something that Napoleon initiated at the time with some of the other people that were thinking about the balance between, it's an old Latin proverb that speaks about mens sana in corpore sano, and this is really what we can see at Polytechnique campus all the time. There is this balance, and it's really extraordinary to see. And this discipline part, I work a lot with the Sorbonne University, Sciences Po, different institutions, and the discipline at Polytechnique is pretty amazing, because you see how effortless it is to organize very complex things very easily, because people have this focused discipline. They have in the first year of Polytechnique, you have McKinsey coaches coaching them on very important things that they will need in fourth year. So it's really I would say, a very advanced institution. And then how that results? Well, you will see today that most of the French leaders in technology innovation, but in business as well, came from Polytechnique, and in the 40 major French companies, most of them are Polytechnique alums, and internationally, which is not as known as well in France, Polytechnique is the fourth institution in the world providing international leaders in business. So it's pretty, pretty obvious about the business part.
It's impressive.
Amazing. So what kinds of classes does the program offer? You're talking about government officials having this degree. Is it similar to a classic MBA program, or are there unique classes that are offered?
Okay, so every participant can tailor their year. So there is 3 tracks that everyone will explore. The first one is your choice of technology innovation that you will work on. Then you will deepen this knowledge with the professors, experts, researchers that will help you have a finer vision of this field. And then at the end of the year, you will submit a written report about your research of that field of technology or innovation applied to business. Then you will have this team project where concretely we're working on projects that have to end with the presentation you made. It's like a Shark Tank in US or a Qui va être mon associé in France. And you will be facing business angels, investors, celebrities, professors who are judging your project. So it's very concrete. And then the third part is a common ground of different topics. You will also explore technology innovation topics, as well as the finance, the business plan, typical coaching classes, etc. We have also military coaching, which is a little bit different than classical coaching. But it's really is something that you will tailor to your needs in 2/3 of the program, and one is common for everyone.
And Benjamin, how did you find the classes as a student?
I've kept all my class notes, and I still look at them, from time to time, believe it or not. And I'm still really amazed of the the variety of classes that we've received. I mean, I can give you, I can almost, give you by heart some of the stories and the examples and the experiences that we've had from the Nobel Prize, who taught us a class for 2 hours. We had an amazing class on space exploration for a few hours as well in Toulouse. We've had really relevant classes on AI, during 1 week, which now really pay off, and I still look at my class notes because AI has become such a huge topic lately. And as Alex mentioned, we've also had I remember a very, very powerful class on negotiation. So talk about soft skills from a professor who also used to taught at Harvard, who still is teaching at Harvard, exactly. So it's extremely diverse. There's of course the more classic, finance class, which helped a lot for the team project. I've really, really enjoyed the team project, which for me was working on actually ongoing business who was trying to launch a new business unit. And as Alex mentioned, we had to present it at the end of the year. We were graded on it, and we've had to face, members of juries, investors, and it was a real. It was not just like nothing in theory. It was actually very practical. That's what made it very interesting. So and also hearing about the other team projects worked on by my classmates, because you hear about 10 different ones and about topics that I never thought I could understand at the beginning of the program. I made my let's say call it thesis or state of the art report on a topic that I almost knew nothing about when I started, but I worked a lot. I can tell you, I studied a lot, and I came up with a state of the art project on hydrogen. I don't know how to store it potentially, which is also a very relevant topic today. So yeah, just very exciting memories still, as you can tell.
And Ben, sticking with you, what about the alumni network? What kind of services have you seen as an alum provided by the school?
Listen, I can give you one very concrete example. The job that I have right now comes from an alumni, and actually someone that did the program 2 years before me, and we met through a lunch, and we started speaking together, and we hit it off, and then a couple of months after, I was working for the guy. So I think that speaks for itself, of course. One of the things that's we're doing now, and I was literally a couple of months ago, there was an event organized between all the different graduation classes. So I got to meet people from the first class, from the second one, the latest one, which is the promotion 6, I believe, 7 now. And of course, you're part of the alumni of the entire school, which is meaning the engineering students who did the classic, very tough to get in program as well. So which is really amazing. Right? I receive emails from events being organized almost on a monthly basis. And it's quite fascinating how strong it is, and it's really an understatement. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to join Polytechnique, because that's the idea of it that I had. But I could tell, being part of it now for the past 18 months, it's really paid off. It's really paid off.
That's awesome. That's what makes it worth it, right? Being the part of that lifetime network.
Exactly.
Now, I heard you say, Alexander, that there was, or maybe Benjamin, you said that there's 36 people in the class. Is it 36 people each cohort, or has that changed since 2017 when the program launched?
No, actually, when the program launched, there were only 20 people, 20 spots offered, because we wanted to start small. And at the beginning, it was always testing the business model. So for us, it was the same thing. And then we had 30 the following year, and then we had this number of 36 that we now keep.
Do you have any plans of increasing the size of it, given the
No.
amazing work that you guys do?
No, because the 36 corresponds to 9 team projects of 4 people. And we absolutely want to have a small cohorts to work with people individually, spend a lot of time with each one of them, and with a larger group that became to be difficult. I wouldn't say impossible, but we have a number of tutors per project. We have an academic program which showed to work very well, so we don't want to change it for time being replaced.
Got it. So you had mentioned about it being 9 months of 4 to 5 days of immersion on campus, and then of course with partner universities. Can you speak a little bit more about what exactly is the life of a student? How does it look like?
Yes, of course. And I can say that I was, maybe for me, it was even more special because I had made the decision not to work full-time during the program, because I really wanted to spend time on it. And sometimes I was really, when I started diving into the program and given the amount of work that you have to do and studying that you have to do, I was very happy that I had made that decision. And I was, really admiring people who were working full-time while having to follow the program, because it basically, you have, so as Alex mentioned, 1 week per month where you meet up on campus with classes from 9 until 6. So it's quite long days, very fascinating days. And you always have, homework sounds a bit high schooly, but yeah, you have work to do in between those sessions. And sometimes a lot of work, not just of following those courses, but also before, to prepare yourself. Because of course you're only maybe spending 6 or 10 hours on the topic, and you're not going to become a specialist of it in 6 or 10 hours, but you're going to start at a very high level. So you have to make sure that before you're getting a class on AI, that you just don't come as completely ignoring what AI is. So preparation time was very important for me to try to get up to the level that the teachers or the experts were going to give us that day. And of course you have the team project, which is really time consuming as well. And that's really what you make out of it and what your team will make out of it. I remember that we were meeting together, all four of us, on a monthly basis, whether in person or online, to work on the team project that we had chose to work on. And yeah, it takes time, and the person in charge of supervising this team project is quite tough. So it will challenge you, and therefore, when you have to present the advancements of the team project, you better be ready. So it means that you'll be challenged in every way, and you'll receive very tough feedback if you're not up to the task. So I would say that those are the typical focus on my life as a student there.
It's a very tough love, but it makes the job done. It really makes projects advance extraordinarily.
Yeah, and I think that's the only way to learn how to be in the real world and to make things work.
100%. Yeah, it's very practical. So I guess just because we're kind of nearing the end of the episode, so just to kind of wrap things up, I guess I would first ask Alex and then to Ben, what are some advice that you would give to anyone that's considering the program?
So my advice would be to come to Polytechnique, to meet us and talk about the project and the aspirations, so that we could have both sides a better idea of the potential application, and everything will continue from there. But I think this first contact is extremely important, because really, once again, we orient people as well. We do orient a lot of them to other institutions, but we do not consume the time of people. We really are very direct. Everything goes very fast in this first stage, so it can be both inspirational and useful for the candidate.
Nice. And if people can't come to France to visit on campus, can they do like a virtual tour, or maybe you want to pop in?
Definitely. Yeah, we have so many tools.
Alex, do you want to pop an email address or a website into the chat? I can share it on the screen.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so definitely that's possible for all the people who are not in France. Even though we do travel around the world as well, and there is a lot of possibility to meet us. But of course, all means are possible. Yeah.
Yeah, and to bounce back on that, I would definitely recommend to. It sounds simple, but for me, I remember a few hours on the website of the program, going through, reading the testimonies, reading the program. You can download it. Really, try to get a good understanding of the topics that will be covered in the program. If you consider applying, be ready to study and work hard, but in a good way. You were there. If you go back to school when you're in your 40s, it's tough. It's not easy, because your mind is. Usually you haven't gone back to study. You haven't studied for the past 15 years, so it's a difficult switch. But the challenge will be there. It's a tough school, and you want it to be tough, and you are learning a lot, which is great. And take some time. I mentioned it, but I really want to emphasize it again. Take some time for the application. It's not easy to get in. I know that, and they're very tough on the application. So take some time. Don't rush it. And now they have an enrolling program where I think you can join two graduating year every year. So take your time. Maybe not the one that is coming up. Maybe the following one could be interesting for you. And yeah, as a general comment, also be ready to think that your career could really change after going through the program. Again, as I mentioned to you guys earlier, that was the fact for most of us in our graduating year. So that's I would say that could definitely happen to you if you're considering it.
Awesome.
All right, so that's all the time we have in this episode. I want to thank our featured guests, Aleksandar Protic and Benjamin Carlotti, for giving us such an insightful update about the Executive Master, which is a unique program that brings innovation, technology, and management together with an international perspective. I definitely want to thank our co-hosts, Bara Sapir and Eric Lucrezia, and of course the guests in the audience and anyone who joined us on stage today. If you like today's episode, please give us a thumbs up. We are always open to your comments and suggestions. And be sure to subscribe to MBA Waves to stay top of all trends and news in the world of MBAs, business, and education. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.